Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and everything between to the Count Crane Show. Today, I'm reviewing James Gunn's Superman. Superman faces controversy after intervening in a war between two nations and a devastating revelation about his Kryptonian heritage, all orchestrated by Lex Luthor. Now, Superman has to grapple with the crisis of identity and foil the plans of Luthor with the help of Lois Lane and the Justice Gang. This was my most anticipated movie of 2025, and there's a lot of weight on this film's shoulders. Not only is it the first solo Superman film in over a decade, but it's also the start to the new DCU after the aimless, jumbled, disastrous mess that was the DCEU. So no pressure. So how does it fare at all that? Well, pretty damn good. It's not a perfect movie, but the good far outweighs its few problems, and it's backed up by a ton of heart. You can tell that this movie is made by people who genuinely love the character of Superman. And speaking of the Man of Steel, David-Corenswet is excellent as Superman. He perfectly embodies the hopeful and kind nature of Kal-El and is effortlessly charming and likable. I love all the small details around his character that flesh him out and make him feel human. His dialogue like golly and what the hey, and how he plays Jor-El's message and home videos of him in the Kents to soothe him. And he isn't just a one-note Boy Scout, he has moments of fear, doubt, sadness, and anger. This movie puts Clark through the ringer, both physically and emotionally. It starts with him crashing into the Arctic, bloodied and beaten after his first true defeat. It's revealed his Kryptonian parents wanted him to rule over the Earth as a tyrant, which turns the public and US government against him. Then he turns himself in and is handed over to Lex by the government, who imprisons him in his pocket universe prison, where he's exposed to kryptonite through Metamorpho. It's a very bold move to have our first scene with this Superman be one where he is so defeated, but I think that's intentional. A common criticism of Superman is that he's overpowered and therefore boring. So right out of the gate, this film shows that Superman is not invincible and he can lose, which I appreciate. That's not to say that Superman is weak, on the contrary, he's strong enough to hold up a kaiju and skyscrapers, his super breath is powerful enough to escape a black hole, and he demolishes Luthor's army of armored goons with ease. But he still faces hardships both physical and emotional, and those hardships make his ultimate triumph so satisfying. And I love that Superman defeats Lex by outsmarting him, having Krypto destroy the drones Luthor's using to control Ultraman, allowing Clark to defeat him with ease. Clark's big emotional conflict in this movie is coming to terms with the truth about his Kryptonian family and heritage. The choice to make the Elves evil has definitely been a controversial one, but it's a twist that I really like because of the arc it sends Clark on. That he isn't defined by where he comes from or what species he is, but by his actions and what he chooses to do, which is helping people. The rest of the cast is on top form. Rachel Brosnahan is perfect as Lois Lane. She has the drive, the determination, and has excellent chemistry with Corenswet. The interview scene between the two brilliantly showcases their characters, how Clark is driven to do what's right without considering the geopolitical ramifications of his actions, constantly going back to the fact that people were going to die, how Lois challenges him and questions everything, and the scene where they make up before Superman turns himself in is also fantastic. The interdimensional imp fight gives the scene a nice background, and I love the dialogue about punk rock, and how being kind in a cruel world is the real punk rock. Sex symbol Jimmy Olsen, played by Skylar Gisondo, is great, and I love that he contributes to the plot with his investigation into Luthor through his girlfriend, Eve Tessmacher. Then there's the corporate superhero group, the Justice Gang. I like how their introduction in the kaiju fight illustrates the difference between them and Superman, with the team cruelly killing the beast by blowing up its stomach, whereas Superman wanted to take it somewhere where it could be studied. It's a scene that emphasizes how much Superman values life, going out of his way to save everyone and everything, even dogs, squirrels, and massive monsters. And the team themselves are really good. Isabella Merced's Hawkgirl is cool even if we didn't get much of her. Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner is the perfect balance of asshole while still having a heart. The practical effects in Anthony Carragher's Metamorpho look great, and I love how his powers are used, turning into all kinds of different elements. But the standout is, of course, Eddie Gathagi as Mr. Terrific. His annoyed, no-nonsense attitude at everyone around him and his action scene with the T-Spheres makes him one of the movie's many highlights. And of course, Krypto the Superdog steals the show as the best not-so-good boy, that despite his roughness is still helpful when needed. But what's a hero without a villain? So let's talk about Lex Luthor. Nicholas Hoult absolutely kills it in this part, and has more than cemented himself as one of the best Lex Luthors. He's as intelligent and strategic as he is narcissistic, hateful, and psychopathic. This is a man who kidnaps a food salesman and murders him just because he was nice to Superman, sparks a war between two countries just so he could discredit Superman and creates a rift in the fabric of reality that tears Metropolis in two just so he could lure out and finally kill the Man of Steel, with no regard for the lives he's endangering. Despite his declaration of being the sole hope for humanity, he's more inhuman than the alien he's trying to kill, which is what makes him the perfect foil to the humble, compassionate Superman, and is what leads to his ultimate undoing through his girlfriend, Eve Tessmacher. At first, Eve seems to be just a ditzy girlfriend who's constantly taking selfies, but then we learn she's specifically taking selfies of all of Lex's plans, which she sends to the Daily Planet crew when Lex's abuse goes too far, highlighting how Lex's arrogance and dismissal of those around him blinds him. James Gunn has a talent for creating truly hateable villains, and his Lex Luthor is another great example of that. There is not an ounce of you that is meant to sympathize with this monster, and by God, words cannot describe the euphoric joy I get in seeing this arrogant, callous piece of shit getting thrashed around and humiliated in front of his own workforce by Crypto. It's a scene that actually made me clap the first time I saw it, and it's still gratifying after 2 viewings. As for Lex's muscle, Ultraman and the Engineer both make for engaging physical opponents, especially the Engineer with her nanobot powers. Their battle against Superman's robots in the Fortress of Solitude is a solid set piece, as is their final fight in the 3rd act. And Ultraman, on top of having a cool costume, also carries thematic weight to the movie's theme, that your choices and actions define you more than your heritage. It's revealed that Ultraman is an imperfect clone of Superman, with the strength of the Man of Steel, but almost no independent cognitive function. In battle, he's entirely dependent on commands from Luthor's team in order to fight, and once he has no commands to go off of, he's defeated pretty easily. I also enjoyed the smaller players in this film. The rest of the Daily Planet, Perry White, Cat Grant, and Steve Lombard are all fun, likable characters that make the planet feel like a real living workspace despite the limited screen time. Lex Luthor's team also had a bit of personality, especially the one guy with the mustache and glasses who desperately tried to shut down the rift. The robots are charming, I love their retro-futuristic design, and it's upsetting to see them get brutalized by the villains. And the Kents are a lovably charming southern couple that bring a lot of heart to the movie. The scene where John Kent talks to Clark about how his choices define him and how proud he is of his son is the most emotional scene in the movie that made my eyes start to water. Now, a common critique I've seen of this movie is that it's overstuffed and rushed. I will concede the film is stuffed full of plot and characters and moves at a quick pace, but I wouldn't say it's overstuffed or too fast. I think what makes it work is that every character and plot point is connected and serves a purpose. Nothing is superfluous, which keeps the film focused despite everything that's going on. I especially love how this film opens with some text to set the stage before jumping straight into the action with an already established universe, which I find far more engaging and exciting than just yet another origin story where we have to build up to everything. And on that note, I also appreciate that this movie doesn't fall into the same trap as other cinematic universes like the Dark Universe or the DCEU, where it's so obsessed with setting up future stories and characters that they forget to make a good film first. The most we get here are brief appearances from Peacemaker, Supergirl, and Maxwell Lord. Hell, even the credit scenes aren't set up. Just Krypto and Superman watching the Earth from the moon, and a joke about Metropolis being misaligned after the rift. And I love how comic booky this movie is. This film isn't afraid to be silly or wacky or trying to be overly dark, realistic, and edgy. It fully leans into the zany, weird stuff like kaijus, interdimensional beings, and pocket universe presence with anti-proton rivers and black holes. But none of that compares to the funniest scene in the movie when we learn that in that pocket dimension, Lex Luthor has a hate farm of mind-controlled screaming monkeys typing things like #supershit 24/7. Just perfection. But on a more serious note, one aspect of this film that was handled incredibly well was the Bravia and Jahan conflict. Obviously this plotline bears resemblance to the current Israel-Palestine conflict, but what I love about it is how it shows the influence of Superman, with a group of children raising a flag with the iconic S on it, inspiring the villagers to chant Superman as their country is about to be invaded. It's a powerful scene that shows how Superman's example inspires others to stand up for what is right, including other heroes. Because even though Superman himself doesn't show up, that flag, that act of bravery and resilience, is what inspires the Justice Gang to intervene and save all those people who were being oppressed. Before we wrap this up, some random thoughts that I don't know where else to put. I love the look of both Luthor Corps and the Daily Planet, especially how gold the planet is, and it's got the globe on the roof, which is always awesome. John Murphy and David Fleming's score is really solid, especially their versions of the Williams theme and the Luthor Corps theme. Something that didn't strike me until my second viewing was that Superman doesn't use his heat vision until 2/3 into the movie. which I think might be intentional considering how the image of Superman with red glowing eyes has been used by almost every evil Superman in existence, and this is a way to distance their Superman from that trope, which I'm all in for. In conclusion, I give this movie a 9 out of 10. Great. This is a fantastic Superman film, and if this is the standard of quality we can expect from this universe, then the DCU has a bright future ahead of it, and I eagerly anticipate what comes next. On to you, folks. What do you think of this movie? Do you love it? Hate it? Are you excited for the future of the DCU? Leave your answers in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the show and want to see more, like, subscribe, share, you know the drill, and tune in next time for whatever out of the hat discussion I have next. Hint, hint, it's gonna be fantastic.